Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here to the 33rd annual meeting of the American Association of Academic Art Historians. It is a privilege to be on this side of the pond, as we call it, to share with you my paper, which is entitled, next slide please, Picasso's Penis, It's Everywhere. The research for this particular topic was most stimulating. And I'm thrilled that the climax of my studies will take place here amid my distinguished colleagues. Now, it's important that you have the program to follow along with the images or that you watch the screen. I'm ready now. Picasso's penis, it's everywhere. Few people know that Picasso's full name was Diego José Francisco de Paula Juan de Pomuceno María de los Remedios Cipriano de Santísima Trinidad Clito Ruiz y Picasso. On the other hand, most people know that Picasso was a womanizer. Yes, there were multiple marriages and scores of affairs during his long, long life. This leads us to conclude that Picasso's penis played an important part in his life. I would like to assert and to defend my assertion that Picasso's penis also played an important role in his art. In 1917, Picasso made this drawing of his penis in the little notebook that he took with him to Rome. He was in Rome to work with Sergei Diaghilev, the impresario of Les Ballets Russes, the Russian ballet. It was a fateful trip, next slide, because there he met Olga Koklova, a Russian of aristocratic descent, who was a ballerina with Les Ballets Russes. Picasso fell madly in love with Olga. They were married. She suffered greatly during the marriage because of Picasso's tendency to insert his penis in various places. But let's get back to Rome in 1917. Picasso was there because Diaghilev had assembled an amazing group of talents to work on a ballet called Parade. He got Eric Satie to create the music, Satie's first composition for the ballet. He got Leonid Massin, the dancer who had replaced Nijinsky in Les Ballets Russes, to do the choreography. And he got Jean Cocteau to do the scenario, and Picasso was there to do the sets and the costumes for the ballet. Well, for some reason, next slide, while there, Picasso and Cocteau, feisty young men, decided to draw their respective penises in their respective notebooks. And I'd like you to see that Cocteau's penis is a rather naturalistic representation. On the other hand, next slide, Picasso has reduced his penis to a series of geometric forms, a circle and a dot representing the tip of the penis, two lines representing the shaft, and two semicircular forms to represent the testicles. Now, this is not really so surprising. Next slide. When we remember that Picasso, along with Georges Braque, had been the creator of Cubism, a style in which the irregularities and complexities of nature are reduced to geometric forms. Next slide. Now, I want to talk about this icon habit he had. You see, he reduced his penis to a little icon, and he had done the same thing to represent his mistress. This is Marie-Thérèse Walter, one of Picasso's many mistresses. She was 17 years old when she met Picasso. He was 46 years old, and he was married. So he was not anxious to publicize his affair with the underage sexpot. So he discovered a way to insert her into his art without making it recognizable immediately. Next slide. He created a little icon of her initials. You see her initials intertwined in the middle of a drawing made in 1927, the year he met Marie-Thérèse Walter. Now, another art historian, not me, has decided to overanalyze a bit seeing that symbol not only as her initials intertwined, but also as a rather provocative view of her body, with her knees bent, her legs splayed apart, penetrated by the vertical member. Some art historians go so far. Now, I want to tell you that Picasso eventually found a way to represent his mistress beyond the graphic symbol. What he did is he purchased an estate called Bois Gelou, located 40 miles outside of Paris, and there he kept Marie-Thérèse Walter, and there he was able to do paintings, drawings, sculptures, prints of his lovely mistress. Let us look at some of the paintings. Next slide. I would like to show you that even in these paintings, when he represents Marie-Thérèse Walter, he is not giving us a very profound portrait of her likeness. No, he is representing his own throbbing passion for the young Teutonic goddess. In this painting, called The Mirror, you see that he has reduced her face to a series of curvilinear shapes, and he has incongruously placed her buttocks in the mirror behind her head. This is not a criticism of the painting. Oh no, I think it's a lovely painting that captures the sleeping goddess, the mood of complete relaxation, and suggests Picasso's admiration for all her body parts, finding ways to include her buttocks and her face in the same painting. Now, in this particular painting, his fondness for Marie's body is expressed in the way he treats the two breasts and the torso. They make a little heart shape. You see, a little heart. How sweet. Next slide. Let us look at another sleeping image of Marie-Thérèse Walter called Nude on a Couch. And again, you can see that he has used an odd line to define her chin and mouth and nose and forehead, and that same line continues on to distinguish her left breast and her hip. It is quite a line, isn't it? Well, I would like to point out that the right breast is not just a breast. Next slide. Look at the tip of Picasso's penis, as shown in the drawing. Now let's go back. Note the similarity between her right breast and the tip of Picasso's penis. He has placed his penis on the body of Marie-Thérèse Walter, conveniently located next to the genitalia of the sleeping woman. Next slide. And next slide. It is not unusual for Picasso to make a shape or a form do double duty, shall we say. Look at the middle image here. This is a drawing from a series called Anatomy, and we have 3 surrealistic images there. In the middle, note that the central figure has a very small head, a very long neck, and 2 spherical breasts. Now look again. The head and neck and breasts are unmistakably phallic. So, those breasts are not only breasts, they are also testicles. Next slide. Now, if we think about Picasso's habit of making things do double duty, look at the testicles here. They are not merely testicles, they are also a buttocks. Next slide. Let's look at another painting of Marie-Thérèse Walter. This is a lush painting where she's shown in nature, and his admiration for the fecundity of the female form is suggested by plants almost sprouting from her body. Now here we have 2 breasts, which could also be the tip of Picasso's penis again, strategically placed near the buttocks and near the genitals. And we could also say, if you tilt your head a little bit, that those 2 breasts could be testicles if we look at the very phallic nature of that thick neck. Now, I think there are other hiding secrets in this painting, but I won't discuss them now. But I encourage you to take home your programs and study this painting. You will find many amazing innuendos in this painting. Next slide, please. Now, we come to a painting that would presumably be more demure. It is Marie-Thérèse Walter in a chair, and we see he is using that device of showing her face as a profile. If you look at the right side of her face, it defines a profile. And it also is part of the full face. This double meaning or representation was common in many of his surrealistic representations. But, of course, I want to talk about the circle and the dot. Right in the middle of the painting, If you draw an X from either corner, you find that it is in the exact center of the painting. And this time, I think there is no way that Picasso expected us to believe that that's a breast. No, he is playing his own secret little game, putting his penis in the very center of the painting. Next slide. This is the last painting I will discuss with you. It is a painting of Picasso's studio. At the far right, you see a representation of the artist who is working on a canvas placed in the middle of the painting. And at the far left, you see the model that is being represented. Now, you can see that the drawing on the canvas is a very naturalistic representation of the model, whereas the model herself is a surrealistic monster. So this painting is a manifesto of artistic freedom, proving that the artist need not copy what he sees with his eyes. He has the freedom to invent. So the model is a surrealistic monster, but the artwork that he's creating is a naturalistic representation. Well, what has this got to do with our topic? Well, by now you've noticed. Right in the middle of the painting, there it is, the penis icon, the circle and the dot. You might argue that that's not necessarily a penis, because there are other circles in parts of the painting, and those circles might be interpreted as pieces of fruit. It's very common to have fruit in your studio. You might want to do a still life painting, or you might be hungry. But the circle and dot in the middle of the canvas, look at it. It's distinguished by a deep, dark outline, and it is so centrally placed. Clearly, Picasso is telling us that his penis is important to the creative process. Picasso is drawing an analogy between his sex drive and his urge to create art. And if we conclude that Picasso's desire to have sex goes hand in hand, so to speak, with his desire to make art, it is not at all surprising that we have found Picasso's penis in so many places. So, I would like to conclude my talk referring to the title of my talk. Picasso's penis, it's everywhere. Thank you.